want to start by welcoming everyone here to the inaugural Toronto Rock Player Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Special welcome to tonight's 6 inductees and their families. I know Dan and Pat are here kind of on a business trip, and I wish your families could be here to enjoy this moment. We will get them some good footage, and they've experienced Hall of Fame moments with you, but we wish they were here. The Veltman family, the Watsons, the Ladouceurs, and the Mannings. A special welcome also, Derek and Eddie. I really do appreciate you guys coming here. You guys were both as much a part of these guys' careers here in Toronto as anyone, and I'm honored and real happy you guys are here tonight. Steve was going to join us. He's running a little late, and being the NLL, there's no surprise there. Plane's breaking down and this and that, so he might join us a little later. Current Toronto Rock head coach John Lovell's here, our current captain, and someone that will no doubt be joining you guys up on the wall in due time. Colin's here tonight, and then all the current, a bunch of the current players and a few of the past players, and which kinds of I consider family, and which leads us to why we're here tonight. I just want to talk a little bit about why we're here and why we're doing this in the room, and why I felt it was important to do it. And it leans back to, four of you guys are already in the NLL Hall of Fame, which is a great honor. But when I bought the team, a vision for me was to build a building that was a real true home to the Toronto Rock, and a place where we could always reflect on history, go past and moving forward. Obviously, with building the building, one of the most important things I wanted to do here was build the guys a locker room that they could call home, and they could, develop memories and for, the foreseeable future. So, like I said, even though the guys are in the NLL Hall of Fame, to me it was real important to have a Toronto Rock Hall of Fame, because, there's guys that will be in the NLL Hall of Fame that, to me, don't qualify for that Toronto Rock part of it. It's about, history, time, with the organization, what you did as a member of the Toronto Rock. So, there was a lot of great moments and a lot of great players here that, have put up great stats and are Hall of Famers around the league, but, they just don't fall into that category. So, the reason for it being in the locker room and not out somewhere else, the idea behind that was, this one's really for the players, and it's a constant reminder. I think this organization's always been about winning and championships and great players, and I think it's a constant reminder for the current day players to be able to look up on the wall and look up at the guys that paved the path and started the tradition and the championships and brought us to where we are today. So that's the reason why I've chose to do it in here, and I think it's the perfect place to do that. A little bit about the selection process and all these things. Obviously, things have changed over the year with the Toronto Rock, and now, fortunately for myself, I get to make all these decisions. So there's some perks to that, and there's some bad things to that. But as far as how I got to where I am today, and why the 6 of you are here and being inducted, I talked to a lot of people. A lot of people past and present, and one of the first questions I asked them was, when you think of the Toronto Rock, start naming me players. And there was a constant theme really right across the board. Not that any of them aren't easy, but the Jim name's an easy one, Whip's an easy one. But what I did find in all the people I spoke to was really, it was pretty unanimously the 6 names I kept getting back, and they're all obviously for different reasons, but at the end of the day, I was very confident with the 6 people that would be representing the inaugural class. So it's I'm going to sorry, let me just catch up here where I am. So I was going. You know, this is obviously not going to. This is the first class. This obviously isn't going to be a yearly thing, but it's something that we're going to do in here, and it's something that I wanted to kind of start here with today. And it's not about trying to fit 500 people in here to watch this. It was about, you know, bringing to what I wanted, the family of the group, and I think, you know, the setting and the number of people here was really exactly what I wanted to achieve. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to introduce each player. What I did was, you know, I asked them to, you know, just think about a little bit about what it was to play for the Toronto Rock and come up here and speak for a minute or two, nothing too long, but just talk about either what it meant to play for the Rock or one special moment that sticks out, and go that way. So I'm going to start with Blaine Manning because he's not here tonight. So, and Christine's going to come up and read something on behalf of Christine, and Maddie are going to come up and read something on behalf of Blaine. But Blaine Manning became a member of the Toronto Rock after they had already made 3 straight final appearances and won 2 Champions Cups at Maple Leaf Gardens. He was drafted first overall in the NLL entry draft and was the main piece coming to the Rock in a trade which sent Caleb Toth to Calgary. I mean, talk about pressure. You get traded for a guy who just scored the biggest goal in Rock history at the time, 2 years earlier. But Blaine quickly made a name for himself in Toronto and amongst Rock's fans. He totaled 21 goals, 50 assists, and 71 points and was named Rookie of the Year in 2002. He also helped the team recapture the Champions Cup, scoring a huge overtime goal in the semifinal against the Washington Power. Blaine continued to improve year after year and went on to win another Champions Cup in 2003 and 2005, where he had his career season totaling 39 goals, 66 assists for 105 points. When I purchased the team in 2010, Blaine was one of the remaining players from the early days of the Rock. He bought into what we wanted to do right away and was a big part of the team that made it to the finals in 2010 and eventually won the following year in 2011. Following some injuries, Blaine was forced to retire after the 2013 season. He seemed a perfect fit to make the transition to join our coaching staff. I'm honored to call him a friend and glad he's part of the inaugural inductees into the Rock Hall of Fame. So Christine, come on up.
So unfortunately, Blaine is at a wedding, so I haven't read this, so I don't know how good it is or how long it is. So, good evening. I apologize for being unable to attend tonight's ceremony. I unfortunately made a prior commitment many months ago to attend a dear friend's wedding. Fortunately for all of you, you can see and listen to my lovely wife speak instead of me. For me, tonight is all about thank yous, and it starts from the beginning. This doesn't look like it's going to be a minute. Growing up playing lacrosse in Alberta was not what we know it as today. Thankfully, I was lucky enough to find myself on a novice team in Sherwood Park with teammates who would turn out to be some of my best friends in life. One of my proudest moments that stack right up there with all the successful teams I've been fortunate to be a part of is one championship I was able to share with those childhood friends. In 1999, Jim, you were probably 45 at the time, childhood teammates from Sherwood Park novice team, along with players from Edmonton, teamed up to win the Under-19 Canadian Field Lacrosse Championship, upsetting the heavily favored Team BC and Team Ontario. It's what I believe was the first and only national championship Alberta has ever won, so thanks to my friends and Alberta Lacrosse. Thank you to the Victoria Shamrocks for taking a chance on, in my estimation, just slightly above an average skilled player that was clearly below an average athlete and teaching him how to play the game the correct way. Back in the day, the Burnaby Lakers would grab the best players in Alberta and bring them out to play as they exchanged winning Minto Cups with Orangeville, Northman, and Whitby Warriors. I never did get a call from Burnaby, as some of my friends did, but fortunately for me, I did get a call from Rick Sanderson of the last place Victoria Shamrocks. Thanks to Rick, and thanks to Pete Rushton, my coach for Victoria, for 2 years for teaching me so much about the game. Thanks to the senior Shamrocks for 3 great years, accumulating in finally my first Man Cup. Hey, Jim, wasn't that one nice? Not so much nice for Mr. Stroup and Mr. Coyle, whom we beat in the Western Final, or for Whipper, whom we beat in the Man Cup Final. But hey, boys, who's keeping score anyway? Being traded to the Toronto Rock before ever playing a game in the NLL turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to me. I'd like to thank the first Rock ownership group, led by Brad Waters and the late Les Bartley, for having the courage to trade fan favorite Caleb Toth in return for an unproven country pumpkin from Sherwood Park. I'd also like to thank Brad and Linda Waters for letting me crash at their house on and off for a year until deciding I was going to move to Toronto full time. That first year with the Rock was when I was able to meet and play with the rest of the inductees here this evening for the first time. And each and every one of you had a memorable and lasting impression on me. Stroopy. His very laid-back demeanor allowed me to see that life wasn't going to end after a loss, and of course had to bury your shoulder and take someone to the net out of the corner while hitting some of the best/worst bounce shot goals ever. Pat. I struggled scoring during my first 3 games in the league, and Patty knew I was in a bit of a shooting slump and overthinking things. He approached me offering some shooting advice, and I'm thinking to myself, great, the most intimidating defenseman ever, with arguably the worst stick skills ever, is going to tell me how to score. This should be painful. Just kidding about your skills, Patty. But I remember him telling me that the only thing I need to think about is getting the ball out of my stick as soon as possible. He says, Blainer, quick hands, quick hands. Don't think, just get rid of it. Sure enough, I worked at it all that week, and next game I broke out of the slump, and away I went. To this day, I still implement Mr. Coyle's wisdom on others whom are having the same problem I had. And we can't forget the big goal in Rochester in 2003 final. That was a big one. Dan, for the physical presence and stay-at-home mentality out on the floor, but more importantly, the practical jokes and good humor he showed towards his teammates. To this date, I've never met someone who can have such an impact on a flight, whether it was through his refusal to let anyone sleep on the plane or by way of hitting their seat, yelling at them, or dousing them with water and ice. Flights with Laddie were always an adventure. I'll never forget the flight back home from Calgary when a doctor stood up and loudly addressed everyone on the flight with a threatening tone. Truly unforgettable. Oh, we can't forget about the goal off the back glass in 2002 championship game. It was a pretty big goal for a man who wasn't accustomed to scoring them. Jimmy. Not sure if it was less doing or just Largy being Largy, but when I walked into the ACC for my first home game, I was sat next to Jimmy. Wow. What I've learned from him over the next 7 years was amazing. At the end of the day, I learned how to be a professional, what real hard work was, and what the love for winning was all about. Jim was the most competitive senior citizen I've ever met. Sorry. Mr. Burns would crush everyone in the dreaded beep test just for sport. I'll never forget your diving goal in the 2003 championship game against Rochester, or in 2004 when Ogilvy was looking for trouble, yet no one on our team felt like sticking up to him. Well, Jimmy, you did, and you survived to talk about it. A true leader and pro. Whipper. I sometimes feel like I will always owe Whipper drinks or something because of his championship games performances in 2003 and 2011. Simply put, best big game goalie ever, period. We had mostly good times in Toronto, but there were some tough times as well, and the one player constant through it all was Whipper's even-keel, laid-back attitude, just showing up and doing his job. He didn't want the glory when he won, and certainly didn't cry or make excuses when we lost. He just showed up and played, a true pro. Oh, and he's not a bad guy to share a post-game beer with either. A couple of other players I'd like to acknowledge, Josh Sanderson, Colin Doyle, and Patrick Merrill. Thanks for being the most competitive teammates I've ever played with. To this day, I'm not sure which one of you clowns enjoys winning more. Thanks to all my teammates over the years, who I will remember each of you, not just for what we did on the floor, but for all the stuff off the floor as well. I'd like to thank Jamie Dowick for rejuvenating the Rock by purchasing it along with building this facility. After several difficult years of losing, he brought back the team's glory in which it deserves. Lacrosse in Ontario is in great shape moving forward because of him. Thanks to the late Terry Sanderson, Troy Cordonley, and John Lovell for deciding to let me be a part of the rebuilding roster in 2010. After there were some questions as to whether my best days were behind me, but they gave me a chance to prove myself again, and thankfully it resulted in another ring. I will never forget the fateful discussion with Terry as to whether he wanted me back on this new rebuilt team or potentially time to move on to another team. It was vintage Terry. He called me out over the previous year's performances and held me accountable. But in the end, he had my back and stuck with me. Thankfully, it worked out for the both of us. After 4 championships with him, countless hours spent with him in the locker room, on the road, and at the card table, you, sir, will certainly be missed. To the training staff and equipment guys, everyone knows these clowns. He loves clowns, eh? Thanks for everything. You guys are there no matter what, day in and day out, doing the dirty work behind the scenes. No matter what type of day you are having before practice, seeing Dave's smile, Terry's beet red face, or Largie's scowl, you can only help but laugh. Truly, guys, thanks. Lastly, my family, my parents and brothers for always pushing me to follow my love of lacrosse. It has pushed us across the country from one another, but the love is stronger than ever. Oh, I don't know if I should read this part. This might get me sad. And to my lovely wife, where do I begin? Thank you for leaving your beloved US of A to be with me. Thank you for the endless sacrifices you have consistently made over the 14 years that have followed me to act like a kid playing the game I love well into my 30s. We both can't even begin to count the times where you and now the kids have gone without, while I always got the benefit. You truly are selfless, and I certainly wouldn't be here today without your love and support. I've had unbelievable teammates throughout my career playing lacrosse, but without a doubt, my greatest teammate is me. Isn't that nice? So sorry that he couldn't be here, everybody.
All right, and I was worried that this was going to go real quick tonight, but now I don't feel so bad. We're on schedule now, so thanks, Blainer. I know he would have loved to have been here tonight with you guys, and it was we'll see him tomorrow. So the next guy I'm going to talk about is Dan Stroup. I didn't get a chance to know you guys too well, so my you play for Toronto for the beginning, and I was the random fan that would see a game or two and this and that, and I can remember some plays here and there, but once again, every guy I spoke to, and T was a guy I shared a lot of time with talking about this, and he wasn't with you guys necessarily in Toronto, but that name just kept coming up, and was one of those names that was associated with the Rock. Dan's time with the Rock franchise spanned 5 seasons, including the '98 season with the Ontario Raiders, and all 4 seasons with the Rock. The team went to the championship games, winning 3 times. Dan was also known for scoring, but in the playoffs, while with the Rock, he took things to another level. In just 8 playoff games, Dan scored a staggering 22 goals as the Rock won 3 championships. His ability to provide clutch and timely goals makes him one of the best playoff performers in the team's history. He was also part of a trio of players that were all here tonight that were fly-ins for the Rock, but he was always a big part of the team on and off the floor. His signature dive across the crease, earning him his nickname, was something that brought fans to their feet, not only at the ACC, but also in the early days at Maple Leaf Gardens. While Dan's career took him back closer to home after the 2002 season, he will always be remembered as Swoop to Rock fans, and tonight he takes his place in the Rock Hall of Fame. Dan?
Well, first I got to thank Toronto Rock and Jamie for this great honor. I mean, being honored for something you love to do, and those truly were the special times in our career. I mean, that's where I met all these great people, and congratulations to all the other inductees. I look out here and I see a pretty good Masters team. But I mean, back then, I mean, I think I try to think of why it was so special, and it's because the Rock always surround themselves with great people. They had great coaches. They had Les Bartley, Derek Keenan, Eddie. I mean, they had right from Tim Large, Terry Rayner to Dave Murray. Everybody that surrounds the Rock is an amazing person. It's just unbelievable. It was unbelievable to be part of it. It's still unbelievable to see what you guys are doing, what you're putting on the floor every year. And like I say, to be honored to be for the part of your life or your lacrosse career where you love playing. You never thought about anything like this, so it's pretty special. But I was thinking, you said family in the beginning there, and that's what it's about. And it was, I mean, if I didn't play with the Rock, I wouldn't have met my co-coaches now, Pat and Chris. Well, we would have met, but we wouldn't have been as close as we are now. I have my Eastern family, Colin Doyle and his girls. I mean, I wouldn't have met them. I wouldn't have known them. And Sean Williams and his family. I mean, it just goes on and on. Any Rock player you meet, if I meet somebody in a rink somewhere, we just go right back to, hey, remember the time? It was, I mean, it's a lot of fun. It was just a really special time in my life, my lacrosse career. And I was thinking, when it first started, the first year, we thought we hit it big when we were flying in, and we'd get picked up at the airport by Johnny Meridian, and he'd take us back to his house in his Impala and cook us dinner, and we slept on the couch, and then we played the next day, and then he would drive us back to the airport, and we'd go home. We thought we hit it big. So the year after that, we moved into the Maple Leaf Gardens, and we had a hotel. We thought we were big time then. But and a lot of you might be wondering why Pat Coyle got mentioned in a lot of the post-game interviews. So the deal was, if we mentioned his name, we got his beer ticket. So Chris, I know Chris and myself would battle to mention it first, and Pat Coyle had a great game. But another great memory with the Rock was, I think it was '99, and it was a jam. Maple Leaf Gardens, the championship game. Go in after, we celebrate a bit, and I go out to find my parents who had flown in to watch, and my dad's got 20 fans by him, and he's with a big banner, and these guys are chanting, Ron Stroup, Ron Stroup. They got his signature, and they were hanging out with Dad all night, so that was pretty special. But I think overall, it's just the way the Rock surrounds himself with great people, and it is like a family, and it's pretty cool to be in this dressing room with the past and the present Rock players. And Jamie, keep it going. You got a great thing going. And last, especially not least, my wife, thank you very much for letting me play and continue to coach and carry on like a little kid all the time. But I missed a lot at home doing it, and that's the reason I did end up going home. But it was pretty, she's a special lady to let me keep doing all this. So thanks, Rita. In closing, I'd just like to thank everybody again, from the front office staff, the trainers, the doctors, everybody. I never got to meet or got to play under Terry. I got to meet him a lot, but another special person that's part of the Rock, and that's what they do. They just surround themselves with good people. So thank you very much for this honor, and take care.
Okay, so Pat Coyle, and before I get into this, that was a name that, another name every time I said to someone, Pat, and the more and more I hear about the way Pat played, I was wondering if he still could do it, because he sounds like a guy we'd like to have on our team still today. But Pat was what a fierce and tenacious competitor and defender. If you were in the vicinity of Pat on the floor, you knew there was a chance you were about to feel some punishment. The Pat Coyle I know came a lot from watching the old War on the Floor DVD and him co-hosting with Joe Bowen. I remember watching him deliver check after check, rattling his opponent no matter who it was. It was easy to tell from the outside that Pat was the type of player you wanted on your team and needed in order to win championships, and that's what he did with the Rock, winning 4 championships. After recently watching his induction into the NLL Hall of Fame, I learned a lot about the passion Pat had for the game of lacrosse and just how much he enjoyed and truly valued his time with the Toronto Rock franchise. That's where sometimes being a part of a team or being around a group of guys means just that much more than something Pat truly communicated at the NLL Hall of Fame induction. It's not too often you hear a player today compared to a guy like Pat Coyle, and that's simply because there haven't been many better than him to play in the NLL and play for the Toronto Rock. Welcome to the Toronto Rock Hall of Fame, Pat.
Hey. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for this. This is pretty awesome to, I don't know, there was a time where the Rock sort of went through their downs, and even though I wasn't part of the organization then, I think maybe just finishing with Colorado and after I retired, to see that there was a couple down years for Toronto. It was really hard to watch just because I still feel there's a part of my heart that's always with this organization. And you know, for me, the first thing that I was really grateful for is that the mills stopped and it became the NLL, because it allowed me to play lacrosse again pro. Everyone that knows my past knows that, yeah, so that was a big deal that the NLL came into existence to give me a second chance. And I really, well, we don't need to talk about that stuff. So it was great for this opportunity. And I was thinking, like, to the question, what Toronto meant to me, what the Rock meant to me. And for me, it was family. And first and foremost, it was because I had moved out west. I grew up in Orangeville. I grew up, I was just saying that I actually played with Terry when I was 16 years old, and grew up in that lacrosse community where we dreamed of playing lacrosse in front of 500 people. Like, that was a big deal. And I'd moved out west, so playing for Toronto gave me the opportunity. Every weekend I actually got to see my parents and my grandparents, and they went to all the games. So first and foremost, my family, like, it was an opportunity for that. But then it was the family of the organization. And for me, you know, I think that started with Les Bartley, that he really... I remember we were in, when we played in Ontario there, we were at our first training camp. I didn't know Les. I know he had coached in Buffalo there. And we're in after our first weekend, and I'm showering, and someone slaps me on the ass beside me in the shower, and it's Les Bartley naked beside me in the shower. And I'm just like, wow, this could be, I don't know about this guy. And there was a couple years there where Les was like so, I don't know, animated and almost corny, and you know, I didn't know how to take him at first, but after spending time with him and being around him, you realize how genuine he was in what he was saying and what he believed. And you know, the threesome of him, Jammer, and Eddie really set the tone for me and taught me, like, not to be a better lacrosse player, but a better man for sure. And I can never repay that from you guys, so thanks for that. And so for me, that was like the head of the family. And the oldest son was Jimmy. And Jimmy sort of, I felt, set the tone for us all. And I was thinking, I've never played with a group of guys. You know, coaching kids, even coaching some of the times now, there's always like one or two guys where you feel like you have to convince them to, like, you want them to get on board to what's going on. Like, I believed it in my heart so much, like, if we all just pull this way, what we can do with that. And I never felt that there. I never felt like there was someone that we had to convince. And you know, maybe we had flashes of that in Colorado. We had like lightning in a bottle, but we actually had that, it felt like, for 8 or 9 years, where we were just all on the same page and just committed to winning, committing to being excellent. And to me, that's what Toronto Rock means. That's it. like right there. It's family and commitment to winning. And it's obvious that's sort of where Jamie wants to get things back to. And, you know, from watching you guys play, I can see you guys believe that too. I know playing with Josh and Colin, you guys always great teammates, and I know this organization's in great hands, being with players like you guys and Jamie at the helm there and John coaching. John coached me, I don't know, I think I was 16 hockey in Orangeville, and man, he was like a prick then. He was like he's become like this guru now, and he's like full of wisdom. He was like a mean guy then, so it's awesome to see you grew like that, John. Good for you. But I just, again, want to say, you know, I could tell so many stories. I have to respond to that Blaine Manning thing about my stick not being good. Just look at the stats there, and look at Laddie's points, and look at my points. Well, I thought it should have been at you, Laddie, not me. That's all. The biggest privilege of this for me, and it seems, and it's what I feel like what it was about then, is this is cool that I'm inducted in this, but the biggest thing for me is who I'm inducted with. Like, I can't put into words like what an honor it was to play with you guys, and you know, just being around you. We cannot see each other for years, but then I see some pictures, and it's right back in my heart again, and that's something that I know I'll have forever, and I hope you guys do too. Thanks.
All right, so keep moving on here. We're gonna move on to Jim here. I mean, what can you say about a guy who has done just about everything in the game of lacrosse? He was the first and the longest-serving captain of the Toronto Rock, and was the first face of the franchise. Jim's hard work and determination on the floor linked him to Rock fans immediately as their guy. Our current fan base grew up watching Jim and the Rock win championships in the early days of the franchise. Still today, fans look at Jim as an icon, not only to the Toronto Rock, but the game of lacrosse. Jim led the National Lacrosse League in loose balls in 14 of his 16 seasons he played, earning him the nickname Scoop. On February 5th, 2006, Veltman reached a milestone as he scooped his 2,000th career loose ball. He also set a single-season record for loose balls with 226 in the 2006 season. That record stood until Jeff Snyder scooped 244 in 2008, but the face-off thing, we've all got our issues there, so still a record to me. Veltman was the first recipient of the National Lacrosse League Sportsmanship Award in 2002 and was named League MVP in 2004. He was also the first recipient of Toronto Rock's Les Bartley Award, which is only fitting. On April 27, 2008, Jim played his last career game as the Rock lost 15-14 to the Philadelphia Wings. Jim had 1 goal, 4 assists, and of course 17 loose balls. Watching Jim raise the Champions Cup as the captain of the Rock is something that is ingrained in the minds of every Rock fan as one of the players who was a true building block for the Toronto Rock. Tonight he takes his rightful place in the Toronto Rock Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Jim.
First off, I have to say, I haven't been this long in a dressing room without any F-bombs. This is really weird to me. But it's nice to be here. This sure beats Lake Mount Sports World. This is awesome. For those of you that are old enough to remember, that was, yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I need some glasses. So anyways, I scared Pat Coyle tonight when I think he saw in my jacket was a speech. So I'll give it my best shot. Since I'm a teacher, this is what I do. Playing for the Rock is like being part of a large family. Like all families, we might have our disagreements, but we're still family. And NLL arenas were our homes to compete at the highest level and strive to win at all costs within the written and the unwritten rules of the game. Most of us don't get a chance to do that in other areas of our life, so to be able to have that opportunity playing for the Rock is truly amazing, and one that I hope every player embraces. We sacrificed our bodies for team success and glory. We would literally go through the boards for each other. And we'd often risk breaking our bones, tearing our ligaments, getting stitched up if it helped the team win. It was always hard to explain this to others, but as players, we not only understood the risks, but we embraced them as part of the game. We played with a carpe diem mentality, seizing every moment during games, practices, team bonding events, post-game parties, you name it. That was to build team chemistry because we knew that it was the difference between winning and losing. When I think back to those days, it was strange because we always prided ourselves on not having one of our players in the top 5 in the league scoring race. And yet we still won championships. Why? Because we were a team. We were a well-oiled machine that relied on everyone to win, not just a few. As a matter of fact, I can name big game memory from each inductee here tonight, and it was already mentioned in Blaine's speech. Whipper's unbelievable 6 goals at Rochester in 2003 single-handedly won that game. It was his unbelievable performance. Never seen anything like that in my life. 6 goals in a championship game. We could only get 8. So we relied on Whipper to stop the rest. Pat obviously scored a big goal in that game. It was just to help us get going. He scored a breakaway goal with his rattler stick that he had. Blaine Manning scored that double OT winner versus Washington 2002 semifinal. That vaulted us to the finals. Stroup scored 4 goals in the historic 2000 championship game. I know most people will remember the Caleb Toth goal. I remember the 4 goals you scored to get us there. And Laddie scores a highlight reel goal. I don't know what happened on that one. But anyways, I think he surprised even himself. A rebound goal off the back boards and he put it in the net in Albany. And I think we had, of our 13 goals, I think 10 were scored by defensemen. Actually, Josh, I think you had the best night of one of your lives there. I think you got 5 goals, 5 assists, and a losing effort. It was unbelievable. But that's what we did. Colin, it was unbelievable the things you did on the floor. We needed somebody to score big goals, and you were always that guy. Even in regular season games, it was just unbelievable what you could do. All these guys, all these players here were tremendous lacrosse players. But they were even better teammates. They loved to have fun. And obviously the fun comes with winning, but these guys just enjoyed having fun. I can remember being on a plane once and a person telling you about the windows and whatever, all the exits nobody ever pays attention to. But all of a sudden this lady said, "We'd like to congratulate Jim Veltman on his 50th birthday." I was like, I was 38 at the time. So I think I have Colin and Laddie to thank for that one. But anyways, they just like to have fun. And they made it fun. We made it fun winning. Winning's a big part of it. But doggone, we really did like to have fun, that's for sure. I want to thank Jamie and the Rock organization here. You're continuing to build the Rock Empire, and it's impressive. And you should be really proud of it. And thanks for bestowing this honor on all of us. We really appreciate it. Thanks to all my teammates. You're all important. Like I said, we relied on everybody, not just a few. They made the Rock the best team to play for. And to my family, my kids were a little young at the time. But my wife, she stood by me. She basically rose our kids when they were little. On weekends, I wasn't around. And it would be a mistake not to pay tribute to the late Les Bartley and Terry Sanderson. Why? Because they believed in us. They gave us a chance to have some of the most memorable times of our lives. Thank you to everyone, and rest in peace to Les and Terry.
All right, Laddie. I got to be honest with you, Laddie. You were the toughest one. I'm digging for stats and this and that. You were the toughest one to come up with stuff for. Laddie was with the Toronto Rock from their inaugural season in 1999 and was a staple on the defensive side of the ball for the next 10 years. He was a major part of the Rock's 5 championships in 7 years and is currently 5th all-time in games played, over 136 career regular season games, and his first in all-time penalty minutes with 428. During his career, he amassed a whopping 5 goals and 11 assists. You think so? But let's be honest, Laddie's not being inducted into the Toronto Rock Hall of Fame for his points total. The big dog, as he was called, was a huge physical presence and a hard man to play against. He would never back down from anyone who took liberties with him or any of his teammates. Players around the league respected Laddie, and he was a leader on and off the floor. This is one of the reasons why he was brought back to the organization to coach the defense in 2014. Points aren't everything, and Laddie, as a fan, you're a guy that you always stood out for me, and yeah, I like the fight and all the tough stuff, but the guys up on that wall are up there because when you think Toronto Rock, I think Dan Ladouceur, and you're a very well-deserved member to be inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight. So, well done.
When Jamie first told Blaine and I in a meeting that the Player Hall of Fame was going to go forward and we were part of the inaugural class, I was proud and humbled, and it was pretty good feeling for me. And then it took a little while to sink in, actually, when the other names were listed, who you were actually going on the wall with, and that's what was, to me, pretty important. The Hall of Famers and future Hall of Famers for the NLL on that wall, and I'm up there with them with my impressive 5 goals or whatever, 6, I think it is. That we battled on the floor and won championships together, wearing the same jersey, all pulling the same direction, was awesome. But what's even more, and the sort of family theme that keeps coming up in here, is that we're still connected. Whether we're talking about lacrosse or even, Pat and Dan coaching girls lacrosse in British Columbia. I'm coaching girls lacrosse for Team Ontario with my daughter Madeline, and see them in a couple gold medal games. Can't win any of the gold medal games against them, but I get to see them, and we talk about the memories that we have here and what it was like to be here. And Blaine, obviously, I get to work with Blaine a lot now. I do take exception to the Calgary thing, the flight home from Calgary. That could happen to anybody. T would tell you that. That could happen to anybody. But going through this new experience with Blaine has been great. Moving up to this level of coaching and being able to share with him is something special. And Whipper, Whipper and I share brotherhood. We have the brotherhood in policing, and we both carry a badge. We do the same job. And while it's not called on very often, to know that brotherhood is as close and as trusting as it is important. And we'll always have that as long as we carry a badge and do the job. And Jimmy and I are still friends, and outside of this game, whether it's the Les Bartley Memorial Fishing Derby with Jammer, or playing cards, or talking about Madeline's University as Jim's a high school guidance counselor, it's the family outside of the game that for me is what it's about for the Toronto Rock, and that is something truly special. So I'd just like to congratulate all the other inductees today. Honestly, it's a true honor to be on the wall with you guys. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you to Jamie for your vision, for the organization, for the growth of the sport, for initiatives just like this that make this whole experience, truly something to remember for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, Bobby. Well, I sit here and listen to you guys talk about 2003 and 6 goals, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, we did the same thing in 2011. It was just 7 goals. It was the exact same thing. Bob Watson was the last line of the defense on all 6 Toronto Rock Championship Cups victories. He was the MVP of 2 of those championship games, remarkably 8 years apart. In 2003, his championship game performance was one for the ages, with the Rock trying to win back-to-back titles, championship titles for the second time. It was Bob's 5th straight championship game appearance. The Rock had never won in Rochester, but on this night, Whip allowed just 6 goals en route to an 8-6 win and a 4th championship. He continued to prove in 2011 that at the age of 41, he was still the best money goaltender in the game and that has ever seen. With the Rock up 7-2 at half, the Washington Stealth held the Rock offense in check in the second half, and Whip gave up only one more goal, and gave Whip only one more goal to work with. Well, that's all he would need as the Rock went on to win our 6th championship, 8-7, and send Bob out the way very few pro athletes get to go, and that's on top where he truly belonged. He was immediately inducted into the NLL Hall of Fame in the fall of 2011, and he's the only player in Toronto Rock history to have his number hanging from the rafters at the Air Canada Centre. Here tonight, he becomes the 6th member of the Toronto Rock Player Hall of Fame. Welcome, Bob.
Well, I just want to start by thanking the 5 other inductees tonight. You can't pick 5 finer guys. 5 guys who are just have substance, great leaders, and guys that are going to be up on the wall there. And for the young gentlemen that are going to be playing the sport coming into this room, you just got to look up at the wall and be inspired. And congratulations, you guys are. Everybody here has talked about family, and that's what the Toronto Rock was. That we were family, and it was a phenomenal experience and just a highlight of memories that I'll cherish forever. And it all started with, like I said, the 5 guys, 5 players. For me, being a member of the Toronto Rock, it comes down to, I was very fortunate to play close to home and have all family and friends be involved in the experiences we shared. Being able to practice together and be together as a team only enhanced us as a group, and obviously led to numerous championships and totally invaluable. And something that, like I've shared, my whole career was close to home, and I haven't had to fly like Stroupy and Patty, and it's got to be tough. And like I said, I consider myself very fortunate for that, and to be able to include my family members in the whole career and be a part of everything was exceptional. And thank you guys for that. I want to thank the organization. Inspiring. They've inspired to be the best, to do nothing but succeed, even at the pinnacle of our wins. And when we win championships, we'd come back the next year and how are we going to raise the bar? How are we going to do it better next year? Mediocrity was not acceptable here, and we always strive for something more. And obviously we had the right players and personnel to do that. Speaking of the personnel, everybody's talked about family, and I want to talk about 2 guys who are like our parents. The first was Les Bartley, and the other was T. Sanderson. 2 guys that couldn't have been any more different, but both men had vision. One wanted to coddle you, the other one was going to pull it out of you, but both men knew how to win, and were able to instill that into their players, and everybody was able to buy in, and then we wear the fruits of everybody coming together, and it's like I said, just something that you'll never forget. You'll never forget as a player. And I think of the time now when you look back on things. I don't think I took it playing for granted, but I remember my last season when I'd stop in different places in different cities, and I'd take the 5 minutes after the end of the game and just say, geez, I'll never come back here. And young guys today, it goes by so fast. It goes by so fast. So just take a second, just soak in your surroundings, soak in the conversations with the boys on the buses, in the dressing room, because you'll never get a second chance for that, and there is no substitute. We share a brotherhood in policing, and it's phenomenal, but it's not the same as being a member of a tight-knit group here like it is in Toronto. So just a little words of wisdom, I guess. Just soak it all in and take it with you. It's phenomenal. And last but not least, in the organization, you guys have treated myself and my family, get through this, with the ultimate respect, and I can never say thank you enough for that. And it all starts with the organization. Jamie, you've taken this to another level. You just look around you here, the little things that you're doing like this, the words up in the back of the wall, you know, and it makes a difference. It really does make a difference, and I was just glad to be a part of it and to share it all with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, and last but definitely not least here, and I did this last night. I bumped into Eddie last night, and I kind of had this plan all along to see if Eddie would come up here, and I didn't talk to Derek, and you know, if Derek would like to come up here with Eddie, I'd like to bring these two of them up here and just talk for a minute, not long, just about you, you know, some of the time, a story or one of the times they had with you guys, because I know that there's a lot of special memories. So if you guys can come up, Eddie. Eddie will represent.
Thanks, Jamie.
Right on.
Just to reiterate what everyone said about Jamie, I think you know, he's done great things for the Rock organization, but I mean, I think we'd be remiss in not saying the great things he's done for lacrosse. Any night of the week here, there's kids playing lacrosse. The legacy that he's created with his facility, with his commitment to the Rock organization is gonna, you know, there's gonna be players out here on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights that are gonna be up on this wall down the road, and I think, you know, we owe Jamie for that, so thanks. So, just when Jamie asked me last night, I said, well, I'd love to do that, because I loved all these guys, great guys, and interesting when you look at the 5 players, and we talk about character and commitment, and you look at 5 of the 6 players were not drafted players. So think about that. Blaine was the only player that we actually drafted to this organization. Jimmy, we coerced out of Buffalo against his will, but I think he thought it was a good decision afterwards, but we brought him in. Bob Watson played in the league, played in Baltimore, and we picked him up with the Raiders. Stroup also played in the league and brought him in Ontario. And Pat Coyle, you know, I'm wearing a striped jersey just for you, Patty, because I know how much you love referees. And Dan Ladouceur also, you know, didn't make our team the first year in Ontario, made it Toronto because he worked so hard to prove he belonged there, and then worked hard every day after that to prove, you know, to stay there. So, I mean, those are guys that other teams in the league had a chance to get, 5 of those guys. And, you know, through Les's guidance, you know, those guys came to Toronto, and we put together a group of players that enabled us to win a lot of championships. And it wasn't by accident. Les, you know, really focused on creating character guys that were going to commit, that we're going to put the team first. And, you know, I think that's something that, as an organization, I think Toronto's done that. You know, there's been some fabulous players here in the past. There's some fabulous players now in the back of the room, and there'll continue to be great players. But the one thing the Rock has always stood for is that the team is always first. And we put the team first here. We did that. We had success, and the team continues to have success. And that's, again, that's not an accident. That comes from the top down. And again, congratulations to all the players here. I think we could probably tell about 100 stories, and some of which may not be very family-oriented, but there's a lot of great stories and a lot of great times we had and a lot of fun. And again, congratulations, guys. Well-deserved, and congratulations again. Thanks.
So, you know, I think that sums it up pretty well. I mean, that's exactly what it is about. And you know, I hear the stories, and that's something that Les started and created. You know, it was about winning and about character. And I think that, you know, the next generation of people brought that in, and I know, you know, in dealing with T, that was what it was all about. It was all about character guys and guys that you would want to represent your franchise and put your logo on their chest, and that was first and foremost, and that was above everything. And that was something Les started. I think that was something that Tees instilled in the Toronto Rock over the last 5 years, and it's something that that I will continue to run this franchise like that. That nothing will change, and I think that's the legacy of the Toronto Rock, those are the type of people that I'm constantly looking to bring in this room, and I think that tradition's continuing with the leaders we have there now, and I think we're on the right path there. Obviously, we did put the plaques up there earlier. We decided not to cover them. We wanted everyone to have a look at them. Those will be there, and that's a permanent thing there. So it's something that you guys should be very proud of. We do have a smaller version for all of you to take with you tonight, and a letter, certificate acknowledging your entry to the Hall of Fame, and a congratulations. And you'll also, I don't have them here tonight, but you will also be receiving, a customized Toronto Rock Hall of Fame jacket. So, that'll be customized, with your championship years on it. So it's a good thing Bob's got the longest arms, because. That really brings us to the conclusion of this ceremony. I'm real honored to put those 6 pictures up on the wall, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you guys for coming. I know everyone's busy at this time of the year, but this is something special, and it's not going to happen every year, and it's something that we don't take lightly around here. So once again, congratulations to all you, and I'm glad you could all be here tonight. Thank you, and congrats.